masterpiece right there in the coffee shop. The woman who had abandoned me during my darkest hour was now begging for a second chance, and I got to be the one who decided whether she deserved it. The role reversal was so perfect that I almost started laughing. Here is the same person who had treated my terminal diagnosis like a personal inconvenience, now explaining how much she valued our relationship and how sorry she was for not being more supportive during my illness. The hunter had definitely become the hunted, and Sarah was clearly not comfortable with her new position. She kept trying different approaches throughout our conversation, switching from romantic nostalgia to practical arguments about how well we worked together as a couple. When I didn't respond to her emotional appeals, she started talking about our financial compatibility and how we could build a great life together with my new resources. She was cycling through every manipulation tactic she knew, getting more desperate as each one failed to move me. My satisfaction at finally being able to say no to someone who had shown me no mercy during my illness was deeper than any feeling I had experienced in years. This was the same woman who had rolled her eyes when I mentioned my treatment schedule, who had complained about the cost of my medications, who had filed for divorce when she thought I was dying. Now she was sitting across from me asking for forgiveness and understanding, and I got to be the one who decided she didn't deserve either. I relished delivering the no ring, no flowers final verdict to someone who had calculated my worth based on my bank account and life expectancy. Rejection tastes sweetest when it's well-deserved. And Sarah had earned every bit of the disappointment she was experiencing. The way she had treated me during my illness had been so cold and calculated that I felt zero guilt about denying her request for reconciliation. She had made her choices when she thought I was weak and vulnerable, and now she had to live with the consequences of those choices. The fact that she was experiencing the same kind of rejection and abandonment that she had put me through felt like perfect justice. Sarah's shock at discovering her charms no longer worked on me was written all over her face. She kept trying to touch my hand across the table, giving me the same flirtatious looks that had probably worked on her replacement husband candidates. She laughed at things I said that weren't funny, complimented my appearance, and even suggested we go somewhere more private to continue our conversation. All the techniques that had probably been effective during her dating adventures were falling flat with me. The realization that she had permanently burned this bridge was starting to sink in as our conversation continued. She could see that I wasn't softening toward her despite her best efforts, and her desperation was becoming more obvious with each passing minute. She started making bigger promises about how different things would be if we got back together, how much she had learned from her mistakes, how she would never take me for granted again. The bigger her promises became, the more pathetic she sounded. The breaking point came when she started crying real tears, not the fake ones she had been using for dramatic effect. She finally understood that her campaign had failed completely and that I was serious about moving on without her. The tears were probably more about losing access to my money than losing me as a person, but at least they were genuine. She asked me if there was anything she could do to change my mind, and I told her that some bridges can't be rebuilt once they've been burned. Justice was being served at exactly the right temperature, and I was savoring every moment of it. The woman who had treated me like a burden during my illness was now treating me like a prize she desperately wanted to win back. The timing of her change of heart was so obviously connected to my financial windfall that even she couldn't pretend it was about love. She had revealed her true character when she thought I was dying, and now she was experiencing the consequences of that revelation. When I finally stood up to leave, she grabbed my arm and asked if we could at least be friends. I told her that friendship requires trust and respect, two things she had destroyed when she abandoned me during my illness. She sat there watching me walk away, probably realizing that her calculated betrayal had cost her everything she actually wanted. The rejection I had delivered was final, and she would have to live with the knowledge that she had thrown away the exact life she had always dreamed of having. Walking away from that coffee shop, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: complete peace with my decisions and genuine respect for myself. The toxic weight that had been dragging me down was finally gone, and I could see clearly how much better my life had become without her influence poisoning every aspect of it. What had started as the worst period of my life had somehow transformed into the foundation for something much better. Turns out, almost losing everything saved me from a lifetime with the wrong person. Getting sick showed me who Sarah really was underneath all her fake concern and marriage promises. If I had stayed healthy and poor, I would have spent my whole life with someone who only cared about what I could do for her financially. The illness was terrible, but it saved me from wasting decades with the wrong person. Now I wake up every morning in my new house completely healthy with $1.1 million in company equity and zero toxic people dragging me down.